like I said, my mum never really pushed me to do these things, because also that would have meant that she would have to sacrifice me being her carer and stuff, and then she'll be kind of stuck on her own. I thought, okay, I'm just gonna be at home all day, every day, look after my mum, and that's kind of what my thing's gonna be. But then I never thought to myself, X amount of years time, I'm gonna be doing what I'm doing now, right? And because you often find the people in working class that have nothing to give usually give the most.
From caring full-time for his disabled mum in the Leicester council house to working with influencers and brands in the gaming industry, Ashleigh's journey is one of resilience and persistence. Growing up as the youngest of three in a working-class single-parent household, he balanced responsibility at home with building a career, starting as a volunteer and working his way into business development. Today, we talk about how his working-class roots shaped him, the barriers he faced breaking into industry dominated by degree-educated networks, and the reality of moving on financially and socially from where he started. Hi Ashleigh, how are you doing? You okay?
Hey James, yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
Not too bad. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks. Hope that intro was all right for you.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. That's cool. So let's get into it. So yeah, could you tell us a little bit about what your role and what it is you currently do?
Yeah, so I'm currently a senior partnerships manager, basically specializing in, influencers, content creator marketing, as well as business development. So there's like two sides of the job. Kind of working with many different people from all over the industry, all over the world. And, getting the opportunity to go to events and stuff as well is something that I do on the regular. And just kind of building the brand that I work for, and just kind of moving forward and in the marketing aspects, both on like the B2C, which is like the more consumer oriented side of it, to the more B2B side, which is obviously working with other companies, studios, brands, so on and so forth. So that's kind of the high level view of what I do, really. So
Okay. Yeah. So this series is predominantly about those from working classes and from lower socioeconomic backgrounds. And
yep.
one of the main questions I always ask my guests is what is working class? How would you define it? So yeah, how would you define it?
Yeah, so working class for me in the definition is kind of like, people that, having to work, all their life, living, basically paycheck to paycheck, the whole cliche word of it. Not really be able to experience the good things in life, because they just can't afford to do that. Obviously, in addition to that, they are people that obviously lose out on a lot of opportunities because of their, background, their situation, because as we know, being working class, in a socio-economic level, you're kind of right at the bottom, basically,
Yeah.
right? You have the high, mid, and the working class. And it's just kind of people that, haven't had the opportunity to, get, further educated at university because they can't afford to do that. Or it might be the case of, they weren't able to kind of realize their potential because of just things out of their control, the way they're living, and the other side of it as well is obviously where they're living, that's the other side of it. It's like a lot of working class to me is people that living in, like terraced houses, council housing,
Yeah.
because they can't afford a mortgage, can't even afford to get a mortgage, because of the income you need and stuff like that. So they're having to live off the council, off the system. Also benefits is another area, a little bit different to working class, but still it's kind of in that, because some people get additional benefits because they're earning so little, like, universal credit and other stuff. It's kind of, to me, the people that unfortunately aren't really, I don't like to use this term, but like, in a way, it kind of is people that are seen as like subhuman. It's really weird because it was like, oh, they're just working class, don't worry about them. And it's just kind of really sad to see that. And, it's just kind of, to me, it's just people that don't really have the opportunities in life to get compared to their fellow peers who may come from middle class or, upper class. It's just kind of people without opportunities, really.
In the intro, I mentioned that you were caring for your mum. Could you tell us a little bit about that and like how, because of where you are now, how difficult was it to kind of get into the industry you are because you were a carer?
Yeah, yeah, of course. So firstly and foremost, this industry I'm in, you kind of need like a degree. You need like university education. It is possible to get in this industry without university education, but it's extremely hard. Like, you get university educated, you're pretty much given a much higher chance. Obviously, me being a carer, I didn't have the time, of course, to be able to go to further education, right?
Yeah.
And not only that, like, it was a full-time job in itself, really, because my mum, she's disabled. She has a lot of health problems, and she is fairly quite old as well. I was
Yeah.
born late in life. As you mentioned, I was one of the youngest of the three siblings.
Yeah.
Just put into context, my mum was 40 when I was born, so
Oh,
she'd
okay.
already gone past her prime at that point.
Yeah.
But obviously, when I was born, she already had mental health and other physical ailments. And basically, from the carer side of it, it kind of happened when I was around 11 or
Yeah.
12-ish, when I was kind of old enough to look after myself in a degree. And it all started with my mum asking me, "Hey, could you make me a cup of coffee?" Right? She just asked it out of the blue. And then
Mm.
from that point on, that kind of kickstarted the whole caring side of it, because she
Yeah.
said, she basically thought, he can do a good coffee, because she loves coffee, right? Like, she
Yeah.
loves drinking it. And then from that point on, it just became more and more and more. And then obviously, could you do the housework, do the chores, shopping, that sort of stuff? Because she was disabled, like I say, she
Yeah.
wasn't able to do it herself because of it. And that, I feel like that kind of affected my opportunities to get into this industry, because this is like, like I say, it's an industry that you kind of do need to have a higher education,
Mm.
really, to get into it. Or it's a case of who basically,
Yeah.
at that point. But to get to that point, to find people to know, you have to kind of be in some sort of social circles within this industry, which, to actually get into it is
Yeah.
the hard part. And that's where the vicious cycle comes in. And yeah, and I just never really had the time to really do an education, a full-time education,
Yeah.
whilst doing full-time caring, because obviously having to travel to the facility and all that sort of stuff just wasn't possible, right, in that
Yeah. Yeah.
situation. Because my mum could have called me upon me anytime throughout the day,
Mm.
to go to the supermarket, or to take out the trash. Because, as I say, we lived in a very like low working class area in
Yeah.
Leicester. So there was obviously that element of safety as well, like, because my
Mm.
mum, with her mental disabilities as well, she's lost a lot of her wit, I guess, like a lot of her
Yeah.
mental, like, coherence in a way.
Yeah.
So to put it bluntly, she kind of has reverted to like a child in a way, like the
Yeah.
way
Yeah.
she speaks, the way she acts and stuff. It's kind of like a childlike nature.
Mm.
And obviously, I basically felt like I was looking after a child at the end of the day, right? Even though she
Yeah.
was my mum, right? And that's a full time job in itself. So yeah, that's pretty much the general gist of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
So yeah, because you're taking on quite a bigger responsibility at such a young age,
yeah.
and yeah, because having coming from like it's like a working class background, did you ever feel like this is kind of going to be the life that I'm going to be leading? Was there any point where actually there's like I can form a career somehow?
The short of it, no.
Mm.
Um, Basically, at the time, and this is the other side of being working class, is like you kind of get stuck in a way. You
Yeah.
get stuck in in a certain mindset, like
Mm.
you feel like you can't progress to do anything because of your situation. So for me, at the time, I didn't have any inkling that I would have a successful career in something.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, like, to put it bluntly, I thought I'd probably work at like a supermarket, or like a cleaner or something,
Yeah.
like that's not really a career per se. Like, it's not really got a profession in that
Yeah.
sense. As more just like a manual labor type
Yeah.
of a position,
Like minimum wage
because
role. Yeah.
exactly, a minimum wage type of role and stuff. And basically, the reason why I say that is because my family, like my mum's family, I guess, like my aunts, uncles and stuff, like a lot of them did kind of go to like factory work and all that sort
Yeah.
of stuff, right? And that did also trickle down to my generation, like me and my cousins and stuff. Um, and it's kind of got to a point where I was just thinking to myself, like, is this what I'm going to be able to do? Like, this is all I'm going
Mm.
to be able to do, because all I know. And to be honest as well, I was a very shy person as well, because I
Yeah.
never really had the opportunity to go out. And like the same when you go to like university and stuff, you kind of come out of your shell
Yeah.
more,
Yeah.
because you have to meet people, you have to be kind of self-sustaining.
Yeah.
Be an adult in that sense. But for me, I didn't leave my home with my mum until I was in my 20s. And that was
Yeah.
only off my own accord because I thought to myself, I can't keep doing this. And I had to do something about it. But yeah, leading up to that, though, it was just really hard. And then seeing all the people you went to school with
Yeah.
going to careers, going to university, and all these other things, it kind of makes you feel like, well, damn, why can't I do that, right?
Yeah.
Like, what am I missing, really? And then, the gist of it is basically you just haven't got that, like, either opportunity or
Yeah.
motivation to do it because you've not known that motivation to do it. Because,
Yeah.
like I said, my mum never really pushed me to do these things because also that would have meant that she would have to sacrifice me being her carer and stuff, and then she would be
Yeah.
kind of stuck on her own. So there wasn't really that much push from her side as well
Yeah.
to go to these things. So, I thought, okay, I'm just gonna be at home all day, every day, look after my mum, and that's kind of what my thing's gonna be. But then I never thought to myself, X amount of years time, I'm gonna be doing what I'm doing now, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just, and then I thought to myself, well, what's gonna happen when my mum eventually goes, right?
Yeah.
When she
Yeah.
eventually passes, like I say, she was born late. I was born later in life, so time is shorter.
Mm.
What do I do after that? I had no idea. I had to even think of what I'd do after that, and that's where I thought, well, I'll probably have to do like I say, minimum wage job or something just to get in there. Whether
Yeah.
it's like another carer, maybe I'll work in care, like social care, because I'm caring for my mum. So maybe that, but or something else. But
Yeah.
it's just kind of where it ends up really.
Yeah. So at what point did you kind of get into the career that you're in now? Like, could you tell us a little bit about that journey, having to care for your mum and then able to actually then carve this career that you're in now?
Yeah, yeah, of course. So basically, it kind of started out with me just kind of browsing on the internet, in the little free time that I had when my mum was kind of sleeping,
Yeah.
having, because I don't have to do anything while she's asleep. And then, I stumbled upon, well, I used like a service for Minecraft, which this is kind of funny. And I thought to myself, oh, let me just see what's happening on the forums of this service company. I
Yeah.
thought, oh, it'd be really cool to work on this system that I'm using for this Minecraft thing. I thought, oh, maybe I'll check if there's anything open. And I just happened to see one of the people who worked at the company post a forum post asking for volunteers.
Yeah.
Also, it was unpaid. It was just voluntary work, just to get experience, learn some skills and stuff. And it was kind of managing the stuff that I was already doing for my own Minecraft
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
It's like for more the wider public, the wider world.
Yeah.
And I thought, this is what I could definitely do. So I reached out to them,
Yeah.
just out of curiosity, right? I didn't have any inkling to say, think that they're going to come back to me and say, oh yeah, let's have a chat and whatnot, because at this point I'd never really done an interview. Like, I
Yeah.
never had a job interview because, like I said, I'd been caring for a mum from such a young age.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
never actually had a job. Like, the only time I had to do interviews was when I had to go to college and do some stuff at college, but then that
Mm.
wasn't really full on interview, right? Like a job.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was like, oh, psyching myself out a bit because they finally reached out to me and said, oh yeah, we like the sound of you. Let's schedule a chat. And then I was just in a Skype call when Skype was a thing.
Yeah.
And me and this guy was just chatting, and he really liked my stuff. He said he'll let me know about it, and I didn't really think it was an interview. I thought it's just like, it's now like an informal sort of
Yeah.
chat, right? It
Yeah.
wasn't really like anything official or anything like, oh hey, what's your experience, all this sort of stuff, right?
Mm.
Like a typical job interview. So basically, spoke to him. He said, "I'll get back to you if it's good," and yada yada yada. And then literally about a few hours later, he reached out to me in the evening. He said, "Hey, I really want you on my team. I like what you're about. You know your stuff.
Mm.
How about we start you off with just a few hours a week, just volunteering and
Yeah.
support and sort of stuff." I was like, "Yeah, you know what? I could do a little bit of customer support. Always comes handy, right? Because I work people and
Yeah.
now, and a lot about them. So that's kind of how it started, right? You know, just because my mum was asleep at that time, I decided to take on myself. Say, you know what, I'm going to see if there's anything out there. Just curiosity sake, right?
Mm.
Instead of me just sitting down, doing my usual whatever I did in the day when she wasn't, around and stuff and all stuff. No, you know what, we're just different today. And that's when I reached out and saw, oh, actually, there's a potential opportunity here. Granted, like I say, it was a voluntary position, so there was no money. So
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and I didn't want money at the time because obviously I was getting carers allowance,
Yeah.
benefit. So like that would have kind of ruined that if I was earning income,
Mm.
I would no longer qualify for that carers allowance anymore and what it came with. So I didn't want to get paid at that point.
Mm.
So it kind of worked well for my situation. And like I said, it was just a few hours a week, nothing
Yeah.
major, and I made it work with my usual carer side of it. And yeah, and then that's kind of how it started, really. Just kind of taking a step forward, just into the unknown, and say, you know what,
Yeah.
doesn't hurt to try. Like I said, I was a shy person, so for me to do that was kind of a big thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was good, and I was kind of happy that it came around what it came around, and then I started doing that, really, like doing that customer support voluntary stuff for a few months. It was. And it's like, what, I think it's like 4 to 8 hours a week, so nothing major, and
Oh,
it's still
okay.
within like
Yeah.
the time of what needs to be done. But yeah, it wasn't too bad, and it worked with my situation, right?
Yeah.
Because it was remote, just logging in computer, just do stuff, and I was at home anyway, so I could go up, look after my mum, come back, and then
Yeah.
go back doing it. Like, so it worked quite well.
Whilst you're doing the caring and you're doing the volunteering work, at what point did it progress onto, okay, now I kind of need to get paid now? Was there ever a point it was like, okay, there's only so much I can do with this. I need to get paid now.
Yeah, so it kind of happened when the guy that I had the informal chat with left. So he left the company to go to another job or whatever it was. And then the person who was his boss was basically trying to find someone else to replace him for the UK, because it was basically a
Yeah.
UK only thing. And obviously, I was kind of there. I had shown that I was good at what I did, and I could do the stuff that he was doing in that sense, because obviously he trained me how to do it and stuff.
Yeah.
And then he reached out to me and said, "Hey, you'd be a great fit for this because you know how our systems work. We have an opening. Would you be interested in this?" But he did say this is where the kind of the situation started getting a bit more complicated for me. Was he said, "We would like to have you, but you'll be a contractor," because obviously it wasn't
Yeah.
a full employment at the time, because the company was based in Germany, so and they
Yeah.
didn't have any entity in the UK, or any employer of record set up in the UK. So like it would literally be a full on self-employed contract
Oh, okay.
position, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, which to a degree could still help me still get carers allowance, so long as I kept it with lower specific
Yeah.
threshold.
The thresholds of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, which was like, I think it's like £200-300 a week you could have earned to still qualify for carers allowance, and then like
Yeah.
the social credits you got for your pension and stuff. So I thought, okay, yeah, cool. Doesn't hurt to try, right? And I thought I could use a few extra pounds, right? Because
Yeah.
like I said, working class, single parent household, mum's disabled, on full time benefits, didn't work. So like you can imagine the earnings were very little with what we had, right? And we was in
Yeah.
a council property and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I said, all right, cool. Let's talk about this. Let's get a contract in place. But then it got really complicated, because now I didn't know how to do self-employment. I didn't know you had to
Yeah.
register with HMRC to do self-assessment stuff. So I had to do a lot of research, which, like I said, at my time, I had that means to do it. But I just needed some extra money, because it just would have been better for me to buy like new stuff that I'd need, like new equipment for my computer and all that sort of stuff. 'Cause I was
Yeah.
on it a lot, right? I was on my computer a
Yeah.
lot. It
Yeah.
was, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I was kind of on there all the time, mostly because I had nothing else to do at home, like
Yeah.
because like there was just caring and stuff. And if it wasn't that, then I'd done the PlayStation, whatever it would be. Um, so yeah, so the guy had reached out to me, said he would love you to do this if you're interested. So yeah, why not? Doesn't hurt to try. So I was on the contract for a little bit, which I think was like for another 8 months or so, and that
Okay.
was just below the threshold every
Yeah.
week. So I still got the carers. However, after that, bear in mind it wasn't a full time, like it wasn't like 40 hours a week, because that
Yeah.
would have sent me over the threshold. They were doing like, I think it was like 25 hours, just like a
Oh,
part time,
yeah.
25, 30 hours or something like that. So it was still part time, but it was like more, I was actually earning, basically.
Yeah.
I was doing more time of the week. I still made it work with my situation, but I was still
Yeah.
making money. And I was still below the threshold, so it was fine. And it did help. Don't get me wrong, that extra money I was getting in did help a lot, because I
Yeah.
think I was
Yeah.
bringing in like an extra, I think it's like £800-900 a month or something like
And
that.
all of this is just remote as well. So
Exactly,
yeah.
it was just remote. Like it was working in my bedroom on my computer, basically what I've been doing for the last 6 months or so with
Yeah.
as a volunteer. So why not? Why not get paid for it? And that's kind of how it kind of transitioned into that. And then like, as I went into the company, um, they wanted me to work more hours, and they wanted me to go full time. I said, if I do this, I'm gonna have to change my circumstances at home. So I had to sit down with my
Did they
mum,
know
and
the whole situation as well?
no, they didn't know the full situation at the time. So I had to speak to my mum first, see what was going on there,
Yeah.
what she thought on the process and the situation. And she was like, you enjoy it, go ahead. Like, I'll figure out something. And then that's obviously when we start talking about maybe bringing in some third party carers, like an actual caring agency
Yeah.
in, just like a couple of times a day, just to, wash her and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, that's kind of how I got into the paid starting point of that.
Mm.
And then when it came to that position, it wasn't just support anymore. It was a country manager type of position.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
was not just doing support, but I was starting to do the marketing and the partnership side of it. So that's
Yeah.
kind of where the partnership stuff started kicking in. And it basically was just replacing the previous guy that left the company, like his job, because that's who he was. He was the UK country manager at the time. So that's kind of where it went
Yeah.
from there, really.
So taking that step of where you end up going full time, so that then alters the amount of money that you're earning as well as
Yep.
the carer's allowance. How big of an impact was that for you? And was that something that you were kind of scared about? Was there any kind of level of anxiety of actually taking on this wage?
Yes, 100%. Because, like I said, it was my first wage, but like my first proper wage, I guess. You say
Yeah.
like it was my first proper paid job at that point. And bear in mind, at this age, I was like in my late teens, so like I was kind of a late starter with like jobs. There's a lot of people who are getting jobs at 16, summer jobs,
Yeah.
stuff like that. So for me, it was kind of like very anxious, like very anxious moment because I'm thinking, okay, I'm making money. This is really great. I can start buying things, but then, like I said, I'm
Mm.
self-employed and stuff, so there's a lot of more layers of complexities here. Like, it's not just
Yeah.
you PAYE where you get your pay slip every month, and then all your taxes is paid to HMRC
Yeah.
naturally, and excuse me, and all that sort of stuff. And the difference was back then there was no workplace pensions, so that wasn't a thing back
Yeah.
then. It wasn't a legislation that they put in yet. The government had put in. So you know, when you're on PAYE, you obviously was contributing to your state pension. But obviously, when you're self-employed, you don't contribute to your state pension naturally. You have to pay additional contributions, which then
Mm.
makes it very complicated.
Yeah.
And it was always highly advised as a self-employed person to get your own private pension. So that was a
Yeah.
whole other kind of worm that to
Yeah.
navigate. So as you can imagine, go from not knowing any of this to having to do it like in a very short period of time and having to figure out what's the implications for my benefit and stuff and my mum's benefit. Does it raise our household income that she doesn't qualify for her benefits anymore? Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? There's a
Yeah.
lot
Yeah.
of elements you have to kind of figure out here. And so it was very anxious, very scary, very worrying because, I didn't want her to lose her benefits because she lost her benefits. We would basically go homeless because
Yeah.
it was her benefits that helped keep a roof over her head, that helped contribute to the rent of the
Yeah.
council and all that sort of stuff. So it was kind of really, really scary at the time. And I thought, you know what, just need to go with the flow, like try and figure out like as I go, really learn as I go. Like it was very
Yeah.
scary, don't get me wrong. But
Was there
like
was there anyone that ever gave you kind of help and advice, or was it
nope.
literally just yourself you having to
It
figure it
was
all
literally just
out?
myself. It was because everyone that I'd known worked normal PAYE jobs
Yeah.
where they had no idea what self-employment was, how it operates, what you need to do on it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I had to go on like forums, HMRC's website, all this sort of stuff, and just to kind of figure out what I need to actually do here to make sure that I'm
Yeah.
not like doing things wrong.
Yeah.
Because having to file an official documentation to the government for your income and stuff is pretty scary stuff, and
Yeah.
having to make
Yeah.
sure that doesn't impact your benefit claim for not just yourself, but obviously the person you're living with, it
Mm.
got really, really worrying, really confusing. So it was very scary, it was very anxious, yeah, and like I said, it was a contract position, so they could let you go at any time.
Yeah. So there's another
There was no
level.
severance, there was no, like,
Yeah.
anything like that, "Oh, you're gonna get a month's salary and then you're gone," or a notice period or anything like that. It's like they could
Yeah.
let you go tomorrow and you can't do anything about it. Um, so that's the other issue, like, I had to think to myself, "Well, what happens if I take this job, I have this salary, it messes up my mum's benefits, it messes up my benefit, we lose that, and then they say to me after a month or 2, 'We're letting you go because this isn't working
Yeah.
out,' or whatever, and then we've got nothing, and she hasn't got nothing coming in either." So
Yeah.
by that point, I was basically, you know, semi sort of providing for me and my mum at that time.
Yeah.
Well, just that part time slash full time salary, which was hardly anything. Like I said, it was like £900 a month, which is not much at all.
Mm.
Um, Even back then, it wasn't a lot. So having that was basically below minimum wage realistically. But because I'm a
Yeah.
contractor, I can't obviously contest it. Because
Yeah.
you don't have that right to get paid a minimum salary. They can pay you what you want and
Yeah.
go
Yeah.
with it. So that was the other side of it. So yeah, there was a lot of anxious moments, a lot of worries, a lot of sleepless nights, I guess you could say, when I
Yeah.
first started, because all the unknown, and I don't like change a lot. Like I really struggle a lot with change. So as you imagine, go through these situations was kind
Yeah.
of a bit of a meltdown for me to a degree, because of that. But
Yeah. Because like, by the sounds of it, these are kind of like big changes that you're going through. It's not even one little thing, oh, that'll work out. It's
It's
like,
life changing.
yeah,
Literally,
yeah,
it's a life change. It's a
and
lifestyle change, a life change.
yeah, and the amount that you're taking on, because you've got the responsibility of looking after your mum, so
Yep.
you got that on your shoulders as well. And then, how much support would you say there was from the government in your circumstance? Would you say they were quite helpful in that sense?
Before I got the job, they were quite helpful. Because my mum, like I say, she got quite a few benefits. She had income support, and she had disability living allowance, which is called
Yeah,
DLA, incapacity benefit as well. So she had that. Um, but then obviously times did start changing. Labour left the government, Conservatives got into government,
yeah,
benefits were getting changed a lot. The thresholds were getting smaller and smaller and smaller for benefit claimants and other things. So to the government themselves, I don't think they gave me the support that I needed fully at that
yeah,
point. I feel like the social care system probably did it better because obviously my mum's situation, with her disability stuff, like they did help out a bit with the council and getting her like the property a little bit more disability
yeah.
friendly, like having like different like
Making the
handles on the
right,
toilets and stuff
yeah,
so she can get up and all that whatnot. But in terms of actual like government support, I wouldn't say there was much of it at that point. Like
yeah,
it wasn't really supportive to the needs that we had basically,
yeah,
because of some loophole here or some specific terminology in this crazy article that no one's ever reads, or it's kind of this obscure article that was signed like 40, 50 years before
yeah,
that.
yeah,
And it's like, but there's all these weird things there, and that kind of resulted in like not getting the full support that they potentially could have done.
yeah,
But even today, it's still the same. Like, there's not, although they are trying to change, and you have like Yuki and stuff like that, which are like these like organizations, government organizations that support the games industry and stuff. It's still not quite where it needs to be, and there's still a lot of people out there in my situation that are not being able to get to where I am now
yeah,
because they don't have that support. And that's still now, really, because we're talking over a decade, basically, when I went through
yeah,
this over 10 years ago. And a lot has changed, don't get me wrong. But at the same time, not a lot has changed,
yeah,
It's
yeah.
just, it's kind of a less double-edged sword in a way.
In terms of the help and stuff, did you have much
Yep.
support from, I know you've got
Mm.
yeah, other brothers, and did you get much help from them and like your neighbors, and what was the living arrangements in your
Yeah,
area?
yeah. So the family, not necessarily. Like one of my brothers, one of my brothers, his wife was supportive to a degree. Like she helped out with my mum with some of the caring things, like the more
Yeah,
lady caring, like bathing her and stuff like that. Because obviously I couldn't do that. And more intimate, like caring natures and stuff like that. So she helped out a bit, but she wasn't able to be there all the time because she had her life, she had a family with my
yeah,
brother,
yeah,
they had kids, and she had the job as well. So she could only really come like for an hour or so in the evening. So what happened was where we were living, we had a neighbor.
yeah,
Um, his name was John. He was a very nice guy. He kind of became a very integral part in mine and my mum's sort of like living
yeah,
situation. He really helped a lot in a lot of ways. Like he helped me in a lot of ways by going out places to try and get me out to places. Granted, there's only things like a car boot or down in a place called Wigston, which is not too far from where I lived in Leicester, and
mm,
a few other places. Just get out for the day, like go to like a cafe or something, have like a breakfast, just stuff like that. Just get out the house.
yeah,
So he did that a lot. Like he helped out a lot there, and he helped mum out a lot in like just mentally kind
yeah,
of
just someone to be there.
well-being.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly, where she could talk to and just converse with. 'Cause although my mum and I got on quite well when we lived together, it's always nice to talk to other people and, have like an outside kinda, chance to chat with people, right? And yeah, so he was quite helpful in that way, like, he helped us a lot, and, to a degree, like, as I mentioned, it was a single parent household, but then as time went by, he sort of treated me like his own son in a way.
yeah,
Like, he used to, like, get me Christmas presents, birthday presents, stuff like that, really. Um, and yeah, he's just very supportive,
yeah,
of my mum and I, as like a father-like, you
figure,
know,
yeah,
figure it was. So he was kinda like that. The other sad thing is, though, he he also had some issues himself, like, but like, like he had like conditions,
Yeah.
like psoriasis and all stuff on his body, which he took certain medications for. But the problem is, those medications aren't designed for long-term use. But he was on long-term use, and then
Yeah.
basically it did more damage to him than not over the many years he took them, and then it kind of caused him to, I guess, degrade health-wise, and
Yeah.
his body was kind of like wasting away, and because it's basically like poison. It's like a poison, cause it's just and then unfortunately he died. Like he had passed away, and he was only like what, in his 50s or something like
Oh,
that when he
okay.
passed. So he was
Yeah.
very young, and that was kind of a big blow to my mum and I, and it did hit us hard because he'd been there for, like I say, over a decade. I think he was there for about 15 years. Like, he
Yeah.
was there for a long time. Basically, since we moved to this place, like, he was there 'cause he was our neighbor.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it was kind of really difficult at that point because I had fully gotten out of the situation at that point when he died. I was still
Yes.
there, living there, so it wasn't like I was moved away and distanced myself. So it kind of was very
It's quite raw. Yeah,
exactly,
yeah.
yes, yeah, exactly. So
Yeah. So because he did help a lot, help out a lot, would you say that's kind of like a working class trait? Would you say a sense of
yes,
community? Yeah.
yeah, that's one thing I found where we lived. Everyone looked after like, all looked after each other. Like,
Yeah.
we had neighbors who would check in on my mum when she was unwell, or they would bring round like a fresh pie or something they'd baked that day, and all that sort of
Yeah.
stuff. And they would just, my mum used to sit outside sometimes and have a cigarette because, because she didn't like smoking much in the house all the time when I was there. So she tried to go out a bit more. And they would just come to the fence and say, "Hey, how's it going? Good morning," or
Yeah,
"How are you
yeah, yeah.
doing?" Just having a chit chat, really, because obviously we're just passing by. And it was really nice. There was a lot of really nice people. They were really supportive, and they kind of all looked out for each other, kind of kept tabs on each other, really. So if anyone needed any help, they were always there to
Yeah.
help. And I think that is a big trait with working class people, is because you often find the people in working class that have nothing to give usually give the most.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They're more giving people because they know what it's like not to have anything,
Yeah.
and don't want other people to feel that way. So they have a sense of empathy to a lot of degrees. Um, versus when I've spoken to people of like middle class, upper class, socioeconomic backgrounds, they're not as giving because they're kind of in that mindset is like, well, I'm earned it myself, so therefore it's
Yeah,
mine,
yeah,
and
yeah.
you know, deal with it. Or they have so much they don't want to don't know what to do with it, so they don't do anything with it really.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think the working class is one of the things that you do find with people of that economic background is that, like, they do look out for each other and do kind of support one another, and then, keep tabs really and just chat and stuff. And it
Yeah.
is nice, don't get me wrong. But on the flip side, though, it's also not so good because you kind of get used to it. You kind of get stuck in that bubble that you think, oh,
Yeah.
yeah, this is okay because they're doing it. So obviously you think, well, if they're in the situation, then it's okay because for me to be in this situation. But then it's just they're not. They don't have that drive to get out of it. So then you kind of
Yeah.
feel like you can't get out of it because they're there, and you think, well, it's okay because they're there. So
Yeah.
they don't really give you that motivation to say, hey, go off
Yeah,
and
yeah.
do this,
Move up.
travel the
Yeah, yeah.
world, go, and none of that stuff. They like to keep you more, close, and that's
Yeah.
something I did find as I was working my way up the socioeconomic ladder and stuff, like moving from working class to I would say to myself, I'm more middle class to a degree now.
Yeah.
But I still keep my working class roots because I know
What it's
what it's
like to
like
be.
to be there,
Yeah.
and I always appreciate everything that I've worked towards and what I have. I never
Yeah.
take it for granted, because of that, because I know what it's like not to have anything. Um, but yeah, I felt that when I'd left and I had moved on and became a bit more who I am today, there was sort of like elements of jealousy and like, oh, he's not one of us anymore. He's no
Yeah.
longer in working class. Screw him. He's just like the rest of them. It's not the case. Like, I'm still who I am. I still remember where I came from. I just worked really hard to where I've gotten to,
Yeah.
that I'm just kind of like, you know, I won't say enjoy what I've got, but like I'd say I appreciate it.
Appreciative. Yeah.
I appreciate all the stuff I've got because it didn't come easy.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've been. It took me over a decade to get to where I am today. Like, it's not a short period of time.
Yeah.
But yeah. So that's kind of the other side of it. You do find a lot of people that you thought were your friend don't really keep tabs on you anymore when you move away.
Like you said, like a lot of people from working class roots tend to stay in a bubble. Did you have a level of guilt, like where you're progressing yourself and you end up doing well for yourself. And yeah,
I do. I will say yes. I do have a specific level of guilt because, like, my mum, for example, is still in that situation, right?
yeah,
She although she's in a bit of a better place now because I put her in a better place. Like, she went from the place we used to live in to now a bungalow, so she's all
yeah,
on one level, so she doesn't have that mobility issue anymore. Um, and she's nearby, shops, co-op, and stuff, so she can just take a quick walk over to get to there. It's not as much of a walk anymore.
yeah,
But the situation is she's still in that situation, right?
yeah,
And the people I know, I still see online and stuff, are still in these situations. They're not gotten out of it.
yeah,
So to a degree, I do feel a bit guilty. Because I feel like, especially those that were always there,
yeah,
they're still there, really. But the problem
mm,
is they never really push to get out of it,
yeah.
right?
They're not
Um,
helped themselves really.
Exactly,
Yeah,
right. They're kind of grown complacent with it, right?
yeah,
They're just complacent with what they have, and they've accepted their situation, which is obviously okay if you want to accept. Of course, please.
yeah,
I'm not going to say any different. If you're happy with that, great,
yeah,
great stuff. But for me, I always like to kind of test myself, and I was like, the
yeah,
biggest test is obviously going away from everything I knew and try and start something new, my own, like rebuild my life, right?
yeah,
So yeah, there is an element of guilt to a degree, when it comes to that. But and at the same time, I don't feel guilty because a lot of people that I thought were like, I say, really friendly
friends,
to me and
yeah,
stuff, just kind of dropped off the earth. So don't bother with you anymore. Like, don't bother with me. Don't even check
yeah.
in. So I think to myself, well, obviously,
Why bother?
they obviously
Yeah,
didn't really care, or they don't care anymore because I'm not in the same situation as they are,
yeah,
and they're
yeah,
just really jealous or upset or whatever it may be, or just angry because I'm no longer in that situation that they're in, and they're thinking,
yeah,
why are they still there and not in the same situation that I am? What did I do? Why didn't I share with them what I did? But it's like it's not something you can really share. It's something you have to do, and
yeah.
that's kind of where it comes about, really. And
So yeah, I was
on
going. Yeah,
good. I was just gonna say, on the flip side as well, my wife has helped me a lot.
yeah,
She's really helped me grow into the person I am today as well. She's helped me kind of become a bit more like who I am now, like more outgoing, more,
yeah,
hey, you need to speak to people, you need to do this stuff, you need to do rather than think. Yeah, because
yeah,
I'm a serial thinker. I like thinking and plan and stuff. And she's like, no, stop planning and thinking and just do.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So I'm like, yes, I need to just do. But no, she's also helped me a lot. But before meeting her, obviously, I had to make the plunge myself and
yeah,
get into the situation, and that's how I met her. Actually, was actually getting out of that situation and moving into a new situation. That's how I met her, which is kind of what I'm saying as well. Like,
yeah,
you don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. You don't
yeah,
know
yeah,
who you're going
yeah,
to meet, what's going to happen. And if I was still in my situation as before, I would never have met my wife. So
yeah.
there's that side of it as well.
Yeah, no, because I was going to say, because you were talking about your mates that still live, well, your old friends that kind of still live in the same area. Do you ever feel like they've got this? Because sometimes I get the same impression. There's people that I know from the past where I've kind of bettered myself and I've moved away, and they are kind of stuck in their bubble. So do you feel like there is this high level of jealousy? And I don't. I think I'm probably trying to say is like I think people from working class backgrounds, I think they haven't been given that kind of support or kind of motivation at such a younger age to be told, actually, you can better yourselves, you can move on. Do you feel like those that you've mentioned and talked about, they probably haven't had that kind of advice quite early on, or just that one individual in their life that said, actually, you can do this? Do you feel like that's something?
For some of them, yes. Some of them I definitely think don't have that sort of like, lifeline or those people there
Yeah.
to kind of give them that motivation or that push to kind of say, hey, there's more out there than just what you know
Yeah,
now, right?
yeah,
There is some people I do know who are in that situation whose family were also in working class, who also came from working class backgrounds and their family also.
yeah,
So like
yeah,
it goes back generations of working class, right? So that's all they know really. So their family can't really give them the push because they never got the opportunity to go out as well
yeah, yeah,
themselves, right? Whether that be like, social reasons or, means, fit health, whatever it may
yeah,
be. But then on the flip side, there is also some people that I knew who are in that situation and they did have the opportunity to do it, but they just never did it. Like,
Yeah.
there were some people that went to university, but then may have dropped out because they didn't want to do it because they didn't enjoy the course or the topic, right?
Yeah.
Or they don't really bother to try and do things, right? They just kind of sit complacent with what they have. And
Yeah.
I don't like to use this phrase, but there's some people out there that are just very, oh, my parents do everything for me, so why should I have to do it? I don't
Yeah.
have to do anything. They'll just give me everything I need, so I don't really need to
Yeah.
care. Like, but it's like, but then they don't actually become anything on themselves, and they
Mm.
just sit in that pit. And I think to myself, yeah, but what are you going to do when they're gone?
Yeah.
And then the other side of it as well is that, yeah, like we just said, like there's people out there that don't have these means or people, because at the end of the day, to become what you are or to become what I've become, you do need to sort of, although you could do the first part yourself to actually take the plunge, sometimes you need those people behind you to say,
Yeah.
hey,
Yeah.
keep on going. I know it's hard. You're carrying the stones up the stairs, whatever. Just keep going. You've
Just
got
keep
4 more to
going.
go. Just keep doing your cheerleaders, basically.
Yeah.
Those to say, you're doing really great. And to me, I feel like a lot of this should be your family, because at the end of the day, your parents should want you to
Be the best
do
that you.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah, to do well in life. They want you to do well because they want their kids, they want to know that their kids are going to be okay when they're no longer around,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
to say, and to just say you're really great at what you do, you should go and do that, because
Yeah.
I can see in you that you're really talented in this field or this
Yeah.
sort of thing, right? You should make something of that, right? But not everyone's parents have that, because or families have that because some families get worried that they're going to lose their child or their family
Yeah.
member, because if they go, they might never look back. And that can happen. There is people out there that
Yeah.
have left working class and they've gone to middle class or upper class, work really hard, and they don't really bother with the working class anymore.
Yeah.
But I believe that you should always remember where you came from and the
Yeah.
people that kind of got you where you are, because at the end of the day, without them, you probably would be there. But I feel
Yeah.
like some people forget that. And yeah, and advice that I'd always would give people is like, if you feel like you're stuck in something, just take a bit of time out your day. If you have the time, just search around,
Mm.
look on like the most obscure places, like go to your local Tesco and see the pin board, like your little pin boards where they have like these little cards say, hey, there's this meeting of people on this day, and all these for a coffee, all
Yeah.
that sort of stuff to help meet people, because you never know who you're going to meet. You could
Yeah.
meet someone who owns their own company, or you could meet someone who is really successful in life, and these areas are kind of these groups or these sort of things are kind of the places where you're going to grow the most. And
Yeah.
you're out your comfort zone as well, and you don't
Yeah.
grow unless you're out your comfort zone, right?
Yeah.
And
Definitely.
I'll be honest, when I left, I was definitely way out of my comfort zone. Like I said, I don't
Yeah.
like change, so for me, it was really hard.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just keep a level head, really.
Coming back to your career,
Yep.
because you've talked about a lot of the roles meant you had to have a degree.
Yep.
Did you ever, how was it for you? Obviously, you hadn't gone to university and you went straight into the job market that you're in now.
Yep.
Did you ever feel like there was any differences when you spoke to people? Did people kind of like think, oh, how have you managed to get to where you are now? Was there anything like that?
So in person, no. 'Cause no one will ever dare say that to your face, because
Yeah.
they don't want to seem like an absolute numpty.
Yeah.
However, you do hear whispers, like you do hear people saying like, "Oh, how did he get into that?" or "Why is he here?" Like, but
Yeah.
if I'm going to be honest with you, and I've done a lot of job interviews,
Yeah.
during COVID, things were crazy, and end of COVID, a lot of people got laid off in many different industries and sectors. So there's a lot of people doing roles, and I unfortunately was one of those people affected by the
Mhm.
post-COVID layoffs a couple of
Yeah.
years back. But so I've been around the block a few times when it comes to interviewing, and I will be completely honest. Not one person that I've ever interviewed with has asked me, "Can you show me your degree?" or "Can you show me, or do you need a degree for this role?" Right?
Yeah.
Because they, and even then, some job roles do say in their description, "You must have a degree, a bachelor's in this
Yeah.
or whatever." Um, but the truth is, like, I applied for some jobs that had that, and I
Yeah.
still got into the interview stages.
Yeah.
And it clearly shows on my CV that I did not have a degree, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And granted, a lot of job applications now are very automated, but like, they never ask you. And there's people I know who have actually got bachelor degrees and master degrees and stuff like that. And they said themselves they never got asked once to prove they've got a degree when they go to these job roles. So there's that other element of it. And this is kind of where there's a bit of an argument right now, because there's some jobs which you must have a degree for
Yeah.
sure. But there is other jobs out there where it's not really, it is said to have a degree, but then you can still get that job and still do really well in it if
Yeah.
you didn't.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
to me, and obviously this is maybe ignorant to a lot of people, but to me, when I think of a degree, I think of it as just you understand the foundations, the knowledge, the information, or the theory behind the job role you're going for, the
Yeah.
job industry you're going for. And it kind of gets you prepared with industry standards and stuff like what softwares you need to use, all that sort of stuff. But if you take it upon yourself to do your own research and you do that, then you could have potentially the same opportunities as other people.
Yeah.
And then you have the other side of it, like, yeah, there is some people in the industry that are very, I don't like using this word, but very snobby
Yeah.
when it comes to, like, you can get that air about them where
Yeah.
they're like, oh yeah, I'm an Oxford or Cambridge educated individual. I got my PhD at Cambridge or whatever, and they really kind of, look down upon a lot of people because, like, oh yeah, look at me, I worked really hard at this to get this PhD. And there is some people out there that you know they've done really well and they've gotten PhDs and stuff, and they're doctors in their field or professors
Yeah.
if they're in education. But at the end of the day, like, last I checked, like, you're working for a company, right? And if you're not the owner of the and if you're not the owner of the company, like, what does it matter? Like, if you're gonna get the same result, like, you're all gonna work together as a team, you're all gonna get the same result, you're gonna get good, returns on investments and stuff. Why is it a problem if you have a degree or not?
Yeah.
But yeah, there is some element of people who say, oh, you must have a degree. But then at the end of the day, I think it's just to filter out a lot of people because the
Yeah.
industry I'm in is very, how do I explain? It's very congested with people. Like, there's a lot of people in this industry, all looking for jobs, all applying for jobs. Like, you get an entry level job and it's got 3,000 applicants.
Yeah.
So to me, a degree nowadays kind of helps you get a little bit ahead, but it doesn't get you the job like
Yeah.
it
It's
used to.
no guarantee for that interview. Yeah.
Exactly. And there's reports where people who got like engineering degrees and stuff who can't find jobs because no companies want to hire a graduate anymore. They want someone with 3-4 years experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, because the industry that you're in now, like, do you feel like it's kind of changing with the likes of AI? Do you feel like that's having a big influence on your industry?
Yes. For the grand scheme of the industry right now, no, it's not affected to a degree where like entire departments are losing their jobs. However, there is people starting to lose their jobs because there's an AI that can do things faster and it
Yeah.
doesn't cost anything. It's just a subscription you pay a year or whatever, right? My advice for people in the modern day, and this is something that university doesn't teach you just yet. It will do probably in a few years' time. But the thing with the education system is it's always a few years behind the actual industry standards. So because you're being taught usually by people that was taught in a different time of the industry, so they know a lot of things from how it was back then, and they may not have always gone with the times. But with AI, you need to learn to use it in your day to day. Like, you apply for the jobs and you think, oh, but I can do it on my own. Yes, you can do it on your own. That's correct. You can. That's why you're doing your degree. You're doing your education. But at the same time, if an employer has a decision to either hire a person for X amount of money per year, or that without any use of AI or experience AI, versus hiring someone who does have experience in AI, relatively probably for the same price to a degree, knowing that AI is going to help that single person who's learnt it to do the more manual stuff in a much faster time frame, they're going to hire that person who knows how to use AI versus the one who doesn't. Because at the end of the day, they're just thinking of time versus money. So if you're having to spend an entire 2, 3, 4 hours doing a spreadsheet, whereas if you can just write in a prompt on AI, say, generate me a spreadsheet, include this number, enter, it takes you like 5 seconds, and then it just generates the stuff.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to do that because you can then, instead of spending 2, 3 hours of your time doing the formulas and everything in their spreadsheet, to just get an AI to say, please build me a spreadsheet, include these formulas, this, done.
Yeah.
So the specification of what it's going to take you hours to do, you write it in like a couple of minutes on the keyboard and you enter, it will generate that in a few seconds. And
Yeah.
then you've got your thing there. Obviously, you tweak it a little bit, but you then spend maybe half an hour tweaking that
Yeah.
that spreadsheet versus building it from scratch, which could take 3 hours. So
Mm.
the employer's gonna be like, okay, I'm gonna hire this person because
Yeah.
it's took them basically half an hour to do what's going to take this other person 3 hours to do.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of programs now and software that's just generate, using AI to help you find, like my area of business, to help you find leads, to help you find
Yeah.
clients, potential leads for your job. You say you're doing all the research yourself, going through like LinkedIn profiles and going on like different forums or different company websites to try and find their contact emails. You can just go through this application. It's got an entire AI search of all this information you need,
Yeah.
and what would took you an entire day to do, you've done in an hour.
Yeah.
So then you have another 6.5 hours, if you have a half-hour break, lunch break, to do other things in the job.
Yeah.
And the other side of it, the thing that AI cannot do yet is work with people.
Yeah.
So if your job has an element where you have to work with people, you're safe.
Yeah.
Now that could always change in a few years' time,
Mm.
but as of right now, it doesn't work
Yeah.
because people want that human touch
Yeah.
or that human element.
Yeah.
And they want someone to say, hey, yes, I'll check that with you. I'll check with our engineering team.
Yeah.
Give me 5 minutes, rather than AI say, sorry, I can't help with this right now. Please wait.
Yeah. And then you're stuck.
You
Yeah.
And then you're stuck. Yeah. So
Yeah, because there's a lot of talk, like how people are saying how AI will kind of affect those who are from working class and people from low income households.
Yep.
Do you feel like there's something that could be in place where you could kind of counter that? Or I know it's quite a broad question that, but yeah, I think this is something that I think a lot of people are starting to get worried about. I think it's probably the pace of AI, and I think it's
yeah,
just
how much
the general speed of
how
it
much it's
going.
like developing and being built out. I
Mm.
do agree. Like I think to a degree, like you have to be aware of it. But the thing is, the best way to be safe in any job now is to learn to use it.
Yeah.
Because the way that jobs are going to be is instead of saying, oh yeah, we've got a department of 20 people working in engineering. Well, not necessarily engineering, because engineering is a very very physical thing. Let's say so more data, like
Yeah.
more theory data, which AI technically could do. Let's say accountancy, for example, money, numbers, figures,
Yeah.
right? AI is very good at doing figures. You put in math equations, it would work out in a few seconds. Like, it's very good like that. So let's think about accountancy or just some financial side of the business. In the future, instead of saying, oh, we've got a team of 5 people in our accountancy department all handling our finances in the company, it'll be basically, oh, we have a team of 2 people handling who know how to use AI to make sure that AI is doing the calculation stuff correctly.
Yeah.
So if there are those people working out all the calculations themselves, it's going to put in AI, have AI do it out, and they're just going to do basically a quality control to make sure that the math
Yeah.
on the AI is correct. So you need to learn how to use AI in your day to day. Like I use AI in my day to day. I
Yeah.
didn't want to because I don't like the whole idea of what it is. Because, like I say, some people are losing their jobs or being replaced by it. Granted, it is now starting to backfire a lot on companies that did decide to fire a lot of their staff members when AI came to a level where it's like decent, where it's like ChatGPT 3, for example. Obviously, I think we're in ChatGPT 5 now, but
Yeah.
like when it was free and it got pretty good. And, a lot of people did get replaced, but then the problem is a lot of those companies now are having issues from the AI making incorrect assumptions or incorrect, analytics or
Calculations.
data
Yeah.
calculations, and it's cost them millions.
Hmm.
So if they had kept those people, they would have only had to spend $500,000 in
Yeah.
salaries versus the many, many billions that they've lost because of these equations or
Yeah.
calculations that went wrong. Because they had no one there to quality control.
Yeah.
And that's the other side of it. Education needs to kind of know what AI is, needs to kind of teach what AI is. And it's those coming in. But I think it needs to be on a more wider level. I think companies need to incorporate a AI policy or an AI training course in their job.
Yeah.
Because there's people in these companies that think, oh, I'm just trying to make the most money I can for the most, min-max of
Yeah.
finances because I'm a businessman. So obviously I want to make as much profit as possible.
Hmm.
But I have no idea how to use AI. And they say, oh, I'm just going to lay off everyone because AI can make these equations, which took you 3 hours to do. I've done it in 5 minutes. Great. But you don't realize the follow on from that.
Yeah.
And they don't really have that education themselves on how AI is and how to use it.
Because that's the thing, isn't it? It's like the latest buzzword, and it's like
it's like Web3
cool
and stuff. Yeah, blockchain and
so it's kind
NFTs.
of you're not looking at the bigger picture. You're looking at the short
term.
Yeah,
exactly. And that's the problem. And that's what a lot of these companies now are having real big issues with. They've just looked at the short term.
Yeah,
they want their short term gains, but in the long term, it's actually cost them more money than if they didn't do it this way. But yeah, I definitely think, like, don't be surprised if in the next year or two you're going to see job advertisements say, like, must have degree, but also must be proficient in using AI models like da-da-da, da-da-da, and da-da-da. And then in about 5 years, education like a university stuff will probably have dedicated degrees on becoming an AI engineer or an AI whatever it is at the time, where you can maximize the use of AI because of how much it's advanced by that point. So going back to the original point, AI is worrisome, don't get me wrong, and it will replace a lot of jobs in the future. But if you learn how to use AI in today's day, you'll be ready for when they become a fully fledged AI situation, because they still need people to hire people to manage the AI, to make sure that AIs are doing stuff correctly, that they're not sending dodgy calculations to their clients that then can destroy millions of pounds worth of product, or cause real bad bugs because they didn't double check the code of the calculation, the code that they're working on and stuff. And or if they get hacked. And that's the other side of it, cybersecurity. That's the other issue. Like, you can never, like, I know it's a bit different to my industry, but that's something else that cannot be replaced with AI, because you need someone to always be there to secure things. And that's the other side of it. So as long as you have it in your skill set, and a lot of AI models are free, at least to start off with. Like, you can do, granted it's very limited on a daily, but if you really feel like you're learning a lot, you could then pay for a subscription and learn AI. But I definitely think you should factor that in to your tool set moving forward, because it is going to become more of a day-to-day tool, to be honest.
Was there any key advice or key tips or anything that you wanted to say?
I've got a couple of tips of advice that I'd like to provide people who are in a similar situation to me, or how I was when I first started. So for those of you people out there who are in a situation of working class where where you feel like you can't get out of it. It's tough, don't get me wrong, and there is times where I felt like I didn't get out of it, right? However, try and step out your comfort zone a bit, right? Like, just try and step out a little bit to things you're not usually comfortable doing, like whether that's going to, let's say, like I said earlier, like if you go to like your local Tesco and then you see or a local supermarket, you see like there's the board there with like these different things to meet people. Do it, because you never know who you're going to meet. Even if you don't like it, just go there for once or twice, see how you go. You never know, you might do it. Don't, like, easier said than done, but try to stay strong. Like, don't let your anxiety get the better of you. Like, I struggled a lot speaking to people, social anxiety and stuff. Don't get me wrong, it was really hard. But now I'm very confident, because I just said to myself, I need to get out of this, because it's causing me more problems than not, right? And it wasn't easy. I still have moments today where I still get a bit anxious in a lot of things. It's never going to go away, but try not to let it hinder you to the point where you are not able to function. Easier said than done. I know there's different levels. I 100% agree. But just try and step out your comfort zone. It's hard, I know, but just step away from your TikTok, step away from doom scrolling, try and go out and speak to people. You never know who you're going to meet. And the other side of it, the other tip I would give before we wrap up, is learn something new. Even if it's just something small. Like, if you find yourself doom scrolling for like an hour or two in your day on your phone, just scrolling on TikTok or whatever, think yourself, you know what? I'm going to go up and actually learn something today. Read a book, maybe something interesting, or just go online and look at some interesting articles or like forums or something. There's a lot of knowledgeable people out there, especially if it's something you want to if you say to yourself, I want to do this job, I want to do this career, but I don't know how to get there. This is another thing where AI is kind of handy, because AI can kind of give you a general loose outline of how you can get there, really. Like, it can kind of give you some resources, websites that could be interesting, or maybe you should consider this. Again, goes with the AI. Learn how to use AI in toolset. And finally, Just keep on experimenting. Like, I just went on a forum when I started out and I saw a person asking for volunteers, you know? And that kind of kicked off a chain of events, which kind
Mm.
of got me to where I am today. It wasn't easy. It was really hard at times, and there was times where I was like, "Oh, I'm screwed." But you just have to go through those moments, and those moments actually are very defining of you as a person, as a character, as a personality. And they are what make you who you're going to be, make your future you, I guess.
Mm.
And yeah, it just keep going forward. Get out of your comfort zone if you can. Just do it step by step. Don't do anything big, major, because that's going to be dangerous. Just kind of do a little bit. Go to your
Yeah.
local meet and greet or whatever, or just go to a cafe and just say hi. Just whatever it is, right? Just try and find things to kind of get a bit more out of your general day to day. Because I got stuck in a rut because I was just doing stuff in my day to day. I had a routine,
Mm.
um, and I got stuck in that routine. So just try and step out a little bit, and then just speak to people, meet people, learn something new, read a book,
Yeah.
go online and watch some really cool educational videos on YouTube or whatever it may be. However you do it, it's how you do it.
Yeah.
But there's something out there for everyone. And being working class is tough. I've been there. But anyone can become something. You just need to really focus down, have a goal in mind where you want to go, and you just find the steps you need to take to get to that, and just do it step by step. So
Yeah, no, that's there's a lot of tips and advice there. It's great stuff there. I'm sure people will get a lot from that. And um, in terms of if anyone wanted to get in contact with you, do you have like LinkedIn and stuff like that?
yes,
Yeah,
I do have LinkedIn. If you search Ashleigh Laywood on LinkedIn, you will find me.
yeah,
I have like a background, a white background of me smiling like, "Hee." Happy to help you. Happy to give you advice. I also have a Twitter X, I guess. My username is Bashton with three N's, so BASHTONNN. That's usually my online handle in a lot of places. So please add me on LinkedIn, DM
yeah.
me, whatever
Yeah,
it
I
may
can I,
be.
I can share all these on
Yeah,
the description. So
exactly.
yeah, if anyone
Um,
wants to reach out, they're okay.
and if you're in the game industry and you want to try and break more into the industry, I'm also a mentor for Limit Break. It's an initiative where I take people under my wing. I teach them core skills as a mentorship for 6 months. It's free of charge, don't cost you a penny. Just have to go good fit. I have 2 more slots, I believe, available. So who knows?
Okay,
Maybe I could help you out there. So
cool. Yeah, no, that's
yeah.
great. Hopefully, people will get a lot from this talk. And thanks for really talking about your younger years, caring for your mother and stuff like that. So I think it's quite important because I remember when we had our initial conversation and like you don't really hear about how hard and the struggles it is for people like
Yeah, you,
behind the
you just
scenes.
hear it's like the saying goes, people just show you stuff they want you to see, right?
Mm,
They only tell you the stuff they want you to know. They never really see the difficulties that go on behind the scenes. And I think
yeah.
you should be more transparent. Like, I'm not shy to say I struggled. I'm not shy. Even today, I struggle sometimes.
Mm,
There is times where I think, wow, am I doing the right thing? Or, is that sort of like imposter syndrome type thing?
yeah.
Because I've been so ingrained in like being working class and knowing what it was then to be in this thing. I think, is this going to end soon? Like, is it just going to, am I going to go back there? It's just one of those things. But at the end of the day, you just need to just, keep focused and just try to do something new, pick up a hobby, whatever it is. And, you know, it will get better. But my wife said something recently and it resonated with me a lot. It's like, life changes all the time, right? But the problem is, the difference is that sets you apart from the people that do things that people don't is life's always changing every day. If you just sit and wait for stuff to come, it's never going to come. You
Mm,
have to actually go up and actually reach out to get it, right?
yeah.
You don't wait for the change. You make the change. So
Yeah. No, I think those are good words to end the interview. So no, thanks again, Ashley. It was great talking with you.
thank you very much, James. I appreciate it. And it's great to be here. And I hope that helps people out there who were who are in the situation that I was over 10 years ago. So, hopefully it helps you out. And like I said, my DMs are open. Please reach out if you need some advice on stuff. I'm happy to tell you stuff. So.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Initial Step. If you resonate with the stories we share and have a similar background you'd like to talk about, we'd love to hear from you. Get in touch and maybe you'll be featured in an upcoming episode. And don't forget to like, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Be sure to check out our previous episodes for more inspiring stories. Until next time, I'll see you in the next one.